Hello and welcome. Very nice to welcome you to this wonderful session that is co-organized by our SPP India and the Public Procurement chapter of the Sustainable Procurement Pledge. My name is Katrin Decker. I'm the Deputy Director of the Sustainable Procurement Pledge, and the co-chairs have invited me to give us a little kick-off on what is SPP, in particular for those of you for whom it's the first time you come across SPP, but also for those who might be already a bit with us to get the latest update on who we are and what we offer for you as the procurement community. And I'm connecting today from Berlin, Germany. So if you could share in the chat to introduce yourself and from where you're connecting from, that would be wonderful because we really want to learn more about who is joining us today. So what is SPP? I will share a few slides with you. Give me a little second and I will kick us off. Let's extend this. Wonderful. I hope you can all see the slide in front of you on your screen. Welcome to SPP. What is SPP? SPP is above all a community. It's a community for procurement by procurement. So it's a community for procurement professionals who wants to advance sustainable procurement in global supply chains. We have a global ambition. So we are a global network where we bring together globally procurement professionals to work together. And not only have we a global ambition, but also we are convening procurement professionals across industries and across sectors, because we believe that there are a lot of learnings from cross-industry and cross-sector collaboration. This is community that gets it done, as we like to say it. SPP is all about a community of action, a community of collaboration, a community of knowledge sharing. SPP is really a community that takes on the leadership in advancing sustainable procurement in global supply chains. Our ambitious goal is we want to make sustainable procurement the default. This is a bold goal, we know about this, but we really identified this as a procurement community as our contribution to make sure that we globally will advance on the sustainable development goals that were set by the UN. So this is really what we are contributing to. And the SPP chapters, and today you have actually 2 chapters in the sessions, they are there to empower our community, our SPP community of procurement professionals through collaboration, through action and knowledge sharing. How are we doing this? You, the SPP community, you are encouraging, empowering and equipping each other to drive sustainable change. As a community, we are all at different levels in our sustainable procurement journey, and we can learn from each other to not start from scratch every time, but to build on the knowledge, experience, and what have been created of others. It's about knowledge, it's about implementation, it's about collaboration to bring us together, and it's about leadership to really make sure that the gaps that we have identified for that is holding currently procurement back, to really fill those gaps with practical tools, with connections, with action to drive sustainable procurement forward. And SPP, what is the magic sauce of SPP? It took us a while to really formulate it. I think above all, it is the safe space that we are creating for procurement professionals to come together to openly and transparently talk about what is working, what is not working, and how can we together pull together what we're having, the experience, the knowledge, the drive that we are having to push sustainable procurement forward. It's all about acceleration of action. It's all about impact. As you can see here on the slide, these are the gaps that we have identified. So it's about what do you need, what knowledge do you need to advance sustainable procurement, but also what do you need for the implementation, the practical tools and knowledge and guidance to make sustainable procurement practices happening. It's also a confidence gap that we try to fill with our community by bringing you together as sustainable procurement professionals, from category managers to CPOs, and also leaning onto other functions like the sustainability colleagues and other colleagues in organizations. And it's about leadership. We really want to make sure that leadership is supporting you in driving sustainable procurement as procurement professionals. These numbers give you, on the one hand, an idea of how big and how powerful our SPP community is. So currently, we are over 17,500 ambassadors that are coming together around SPP. We have 19 chapters, and the public procurement and India chapter are two of those, who are coming together or bringing smaller communities together along regional and national topics, around industries, but also around topics from scope 3 to supplier diversity. We are currently reaching over procurement professionals in over 140 countries, and over 72% of our communities have given us the feedback that engagement in SPP is having a positive influence on their procurement and purchasing decisions that they are making. So in other words, in the last years, and SPP was founded in 2019 as a volunteer initiative, we have proven the case that a community like SPP is needed and that it is bringing value to procurement professionals. The numbers in the second row that you can see here, this is really your power as procurement function. You are not alone. There are more than 1 million procurement professionals worldwide behind you and with you, really trying to advance procurement and make sure that sustainable procurement can be made the default. There is power in the purchasing decisions that you're making. If it is an estimated 15 trillions, and that is just one number that we could find because there's not a sound or reliable, let's say, a source or the one go-to source for that number. But what we found is around 15 trillions of US dollars annual. This is the power you have in your hands. And it's even up to 15 to 20% of the global GDP. So in other words, you are powerful. Or as we like to say it, you can be superheroes because you decide on how this money is spent. And a lot of our ambassadors are pushing into the direction of spending it on making procurement sustainable. Let me see. Next slide. We guide you to actionable tools. So within this community, what can you find? You can find peers to connect to. You can find webinars like ours today, where you can learn more about how sustainable procurement is implemented in different areas throughout the world. You can learn from case studies that are, for example, available through our guide that we have online. You can come together and collaboratively create new principles, as we have done last year with the carbon pricing principles, where we come together as procurement to find a more harmonized way of implementing carbon pricing in procurement. And we also provide you with learning journeys and other real practical resources for you to use, but also for you to share. Because we believe there's a lot of value in the experiences and resources that you are using to share with the community. So in other words, use SPP and share also with us your knowledge and your experience. So what is SPP? SPP we understand ourselves not only in isolation, but we see ourselves as part of an ecosystem of change makers. That also means we build strategic partnerships with actors who are pushing on sustainability. In particular, we've identified the power of procurement on this journey to avoid duplication, because there's a lot of noise already out there. And we really try not to add to this noise, but really collaborate with those who are driving action and impact. And at the heart of SPP lies the pledge. The pledge. This is 5 principles, very close to the UN Global Compact principles for sustainable business or responsible business. And this is really an individual commitment. SPP is about you, your individual professional commitment to sustainable procurement. Become and that's why we call the members of our community also ambassadors, because we believe in the action of individuals. We believe in the sharing of knowledge, and that we together can build something. And these principles, the pledge, are, let's say, the minimum or the basic understanding binds us together as a community. So how can you join this community of procurement professionals who wants to get things done? You can join as ambassador, as I said. I will share in the chat later the direct link where you can sign up for SPP, become an ambassador, and be directly tucked in into the communication to learn about the latest about our community and to connect to other webinars and other action and activities that are happening within SPP. You can join or start a chapter on your own. So this is not the only event that is happening. Our 19 chapters are organizing regularly webinars. We as the global team are organizing regularly webinars and other activities. So come and join us, support chapters, or even see where there's a gap and fill this gap with a new chapter. You can also join us as volunteers. As I said at the beginning, SPP was really built and grown due to a number of volunteers who believed in this mission and who have contributed their free time to build SPP up. So also here we have many opportunities to support our chapters and to support our global activities through your volunteering. And I would like to share 3 very direct engagement opportunities. So the one is our World Sustainable Procurement Day. The World Sustainable Procurement Day is happening this year from the 20th to the 21st of March. This is 24 hours with 24 sessions for procurement by procurement. Here really we try to bring the procurement profession together and make the 20th and 21st of March the day of sustainable procurement, the Global Day of Sustainable Procurement. Sign up for the event. The registrations are open. It's all for free. And we, as I said, 24 hours through all time zones, we are providing interesting insights, practical advice, and great speakers to learn from. The other one, which I already mentioned, is the guide. This is a compilation of case studies that were born in our Champions program. So companies, CPOs, and their team members have shared their insights as what we call the ugly truth and the key success factors of sustainable procurement. Learn from them, build up on them. This is a great source for inspiration on how to get it done. And last but not least, our SPP Champions program. This is a program for companies to come together. We bring together the CPOs and members of their procurement team to really drive forward the sustainable procurement. What are the next steps that are needed to towards our goal of making sustainable procurement the default? And I would like to finish with 2 more slides. This is just to say, join us. Together we can procure the tomorrow that we need, that we deserve, and you can play a really strong part in making this happening. And the next step, so if there's one thing that you take from today, sign up as our ambassador, join this community, because together we can get it done. And with that, I would like to hand over to you, Guy. I don't want to spend more time on this and take away.
That's great, Katrine. That's really great, and it's really interesting. I think the power is really important. So one of the rationales, one of the missions of the public sector chapter is to unlock the power of the public spend. And if you look across the world, it is something like $13 trillion worth of spend for the public sector. And so what we're looking to encourage is public sector buyers to think carefully about how they can embed sustainability into those public sector decision making. As I understand it, just looking on the internet, India has $3 trillion worth of public sector spend, and that's almost 25% of the world's public sector spend, so massive influence. So we've got 2 fantastic speakers here today. They're going to talk us through sort of different viewpoints, private sector, and some views about the public sector as well. If I'm first going to introduce Ashish Gupta. who's going to speak first, and each speaker is going to speak for 10 minutes or so, and then we've got an opportunity for Q&A. Can I point you towards the top of your screens? There's a Q&A button. And can I encourage you to drop any questions into that Q&A piece rather than on the chat? I'll be monitoring the Q&A so that I can ask questions of both Ashish and also Swapnil later. So Ashish is a specialist in safety, the environment and sustainability for the Maharat company. Excuse me for pronouncing that appallingly, Ashish. But he's also a GRI certified professional, an IEMA certified environmental professional, and ISO 45001 lead auditor. What's really important about Ashish is that he's written the last 4 sustainability reports for BPCL, and we know how tough writing those reports are. So that's great. So we're really delighted to welcome you to the team, to the call. And then we're going to hear from Swapnil, which I'll do Swapnil's introduction now. So Swapnil is the Chief Procurement Officer for Yes Bank India, one of the major banks within India. He's been a professional within the procurement world for over 36 years. So a lot of experience to share with us today, involved in procurement, supply chain management, logistics. He's also chairman of IMM Mumbai and also now co-chair of the Sustainable Procurement Pledge in India. So if any colleagues on the call from India or outside of India for that matter want to get involved in the India chapter, sign up as Katrin has mentioned, and then please reach out to Swapnil to get involved in the India chapter, which I'm sure Swapnil will talk about in just a moment. So without further ado, I'm going to invite Ashish to share his slides, talk for about 10 minutes, and then I'll bring Swapnil into this, and then we'll have a discussion. Again, Q&A in the top button, please. Ashish, do you want to share your slides?
Thank you. Thank you, Guy. Thank you very much. And thank you, Catherine, also to set up the context now what you have talked about sustainable public procurement. And today, sustainability has become the end thing for any business anywhere. Whenever we talk about, see, world is talking about reduction of the emissions with respect to scope 1, scope 2, and we all are talking about that we want to become net zero. And without procurement, nothing can go for a company because that is one of the major requirement for one to run a company. You can carry out your process, operations, etc., but you need to have the raw materials, other things also, which is part of procurement, and that is always required for any industry to take it. Now, our major aim is to see that how sustainably we can procure the products. I think that is something very, very important, which is also going to cut down our scope 3 emissions, and it will also help us in making the world greener. I think that is a major thing that we have to look into. And along with the slides, I'll try to explain what I know about it. And it will be, my major focus would be what is sustainable procurement. Now, what are the challenges which are there, and what exactly as a case study what we are doing. I think that will also help the people to understand what are the things which companies are doing, so that they can always look into what best can be done within their organization. One can replicate and one can look into, and we can also learn side by side. I hope you can see my screen, is it?
Yes, we can see the screen.
Thank you. I'll put it on presentation mode. Guy, is it okay?
Yes, it's great. Great.
Okay.
Yep.
The sustainable procurement can also be linked through triple bottom line. We always talk about people, planet, and profit, right? So that is what is very important. It is not only profit we talk about. We have to not only cut down the value or the procurement rate, but we have to also see that how it is going to help in people and planet. That is what is now sustainable procurement. Right. So anything which is going to help us out socially, environmentally, and will also take care of the earth as a whole. no, with respect to environment, society, economy. That is what we can talk about now. We can say that this is the sustainable procurement we are doing. We cannot only take the product now which can harm the people, but we have to also look into, is it environmentally friendly? I think that is the basic requirement when we say that no, what is sustainable procurement is all about. And it is also to lowest environmental impact and social positive social results. Means no, that it should not harm people, it should not harm society as a whole. Right. So that is what we have to find out and see that now what procurement are we doing with respect to the industry. And now just to explain it, no, let's say if we talk about planet, then we have to see that now what product we are taking. Is it no lowering the carbon footprint? Is it no lowering the emissions? Is it decreasing the pollution? No, is it? I mean, it should not be filled into the landfill because again, no, we are spoiling the earth. So our materials, no, what we are procuring should be having a low carbon footprint. It should be not be hazardous. And if it is hazardous, then we should know the method of disposal, right? It should also be product life cycle to be seen, and no, it should have a low impact suppliers. No, it should be supplied through low impact suppliers. So that is what we have to identify. Who are the people, those who can supply such kind of products which will help us in reduction of not only the emissions, also the pollution, and save the environment. So that is what basically when we talk about planet, we have to look into. Coming to people, no, it also has to has positive impact on the organizations and communities. We cannot isolatedly see that product procurement and the industry which is running is no spoiling the communities aside, no, which is there no along with the industry. You have to see that the communities which are working, or which is there, which is in the neighborhood, should also be I mean, they also find it satisfactory that industry is not spoiling their livelihood. It is also that we have to see that working conditions are good, no, which are the vendors, those who are giving the good kind of product. What is the it should be diversity needs, biodiversity needs to be seen, equality and inclusions need to be seen, that these products can be maintained by the people, those who are there. It should also help in maintaining healthy work environment, and also fair labor costs, manage customer expectations. So these things basically goes with the society, right? So that people part, that will be taken care of. And then no, without profit, no industry can run and no procurement can happen. So profit is almost always important, but side by side, society and environment needs to be looked into. So economic benefit to all stakeholders should be there. No, it is also your shareholders, stakeholders, anybody who is connected. They should get a fair business. They should also see that no local economic impact will happen, and then people will become more prosperous, right? Customer well-being needs to be seen. Money laundering should not happen. No, product should be of low cost, as well as it should give higher profit margin. And I mean, both things happen. No, today there are products now which with the sustainability are at low cost and gives you better margins over a period of time. So that is where no high earning potential would be there, and more profits would be earned with such kind of products. So that is what needs to be looked into, right? Now let's see what kind of sustainable procurement could be there. Green procurement means those who are having lower environmental impact. Local procurement means we have to see that that local community can supply. No, it is within the community. If you supply, then their livelihoods will improve. No, then the wages or the working safe conditions should also be looked into. That the product what we are procuring or taking should be able to give the workers fair wages. And packaging should be such that it should be recyclable, compostable, as well as it can reduce the packaging waste. So we are actually trying to see that everything should be such that pollution or the I mean the total spoil or littering should not take place within the environment. And it should also be sustainable manufacturing should be there. That means that I mean, it can use renewable energy, it can reduce water consumption, because all these are natural resources. The minimum we do, the better it will be for the society as a whole. Now, for public sector, if we look into, there are certain challenges that we have to tackle, as a supply chain. Because today the operation has become very, very complex. A lot of bottlenecks are there, a lot of external things are there, volatility is happening, and regulatory attention is also taking place. Now, I mean, no regulation is coming up. No, I mean, it is putting a lot of laws into it. Now, today, if we look at India, then for designated customers, no PAT targets have come. Earlier they were on energy, but today they have come on emissions. So that means we have to cut down the emissions to meet the PAT targets. We also have to see that renewable certificates are being purchased by the industry, and due diligence is taking place. No more and more. I mean, industry has to put up disclosure with respect to environmental issues or the emissions which are taking place within the industry. So regulation is not tightening the noose today, and that has to be looked into. Now, another is that geopolitical microeconomic issues are also taking place. There are no so many obligations which are coming up, so many changes which are taking place globally. No, I mean, laws are changing. There is a CBAM which is coming, in the European countries. So today uh, the other countries' import and exports are becoming more and more challenging. So all these things needs to be looked into by the supply chain. And even the customer behavior is also changing. Now, today customer always see that the product which is green in nature would be purchased by him, because he has also become conscious. He also likes to see that ESG things are being met. So the industry has to develop those kind of products. So procurement and consumption both are going hand in hand, and more green products are acceptable by the customer. Okay. And similarly, that internal capacity challenges are taking place. There are risk and legal requirements. And all those things, the procurement has become more and more challenging. That is what I wanted to emphasize here. Now, why you need sustainable sourcing? Basically, what is the purpose of that? Because the supply chain continue to expand globally today. Now we all want to export. We want to go around to get more and more profits and money and all that. And developing countries, the cost is becoming the procurement cost. Now they are also trying to do at a lower cost. So no, we need to see that what kind of sustainable sourcing is possible for the industry or for the consumer to be purchased. And companies are also increasingly making sustainable sourcing as essential part of their procurement, right? I mean, companies are trying to see that they should procure the product which is either green in nature, or which can give lower pollution, or which can be, where the supply chain is using, all less natural resources. They are making the product green, and that is how no procurement will come up. Now, if we see, what is the public procurement sector, if we see that today.
Ashish, sorry, just want to jump in. Can you sort of 2 minutes? Could you? I'm just conscious of time.
I'll
So
just finish off in 2 minutes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Thanks very much. I want to make sure.
Okay.
Gupta has it. Thanks.
So when I am talking in Indian conditions, again we have a GEM e-marketplace. Then we are also talking about green public procurement, and SEBI, as a statutory requirement, has also set up many things and many targets for the industry to make the procurement or develop the product. So I think that is another very important thing which is coming up for the procurement part of it. Now, if we see what are the challenges for the companies, what action can be taken by the procurement leaders. They can establish sustainability KPIs. They can also make supplier scoreboard and benchmark them, who are the good sustainable suppliers. They can also look into the value-based procurement, then price-based. Now, value-based means, again, with the low emission products or with the carbon transition kind of products, if they can take, and more sustainable investments that can happen under the new projects which are coming up. Now, next is our own BPCL. Since I am working in BPCL, so the actions are some of the case studies. What we are doing is we are disposing e-waste, biomedical waste, kitchen waste, plastic waste also under EPR. I mean, that is one of the form where in Indian conditions, government has put a regulation that whatever a brand owner or the manufacturer has to dispose the extent of plastic waste that it is generating, right? So that is what we all are meeting that requirement. We also look into battery waste, fly ash, slop oil, and we are the only company in India and maybe across globe also when we say that we are not spoiling soil due to our operations, and we have taken a certification called zero waste to landfill. So these are the some of the actions which we as a company has taken. And I think, I mean, that is what now from our end, I would like to say that what is the actions and the things now in procurement we do. And we are not only producer, we are consumer also. And we try to see that what best can be done for a sustainable procurement.
Great.
Thank you
Good.
very much.
Ashish, thank you so much, and apologies for
I'm
rushing
sorry
on
if I had taken
slightly.
more time.
Don't worry, it's okay. No, so that's great. So again, any questions? We've got one question to Q&A so far. Please drop them in. And so Swapnil, if I can give you 10 minutes or so, that'd be great. You are on mute, by the way, Swapnil. I'm not sure if you're talking.
Is it better now? Am I audible? Can you hear me now, right?
Yeah.
We can, Swapnil, yes.
Okay, so the basic principles remain same, whether it's the public sector or the private sector. The sustainability angle in procurement is coming up in a big way. SPP India is part of the SPP overall global platform. We have two co-chairs. I am an advisor to Yes Bank at this point of time, having more than 36 years of experience in corporate. And Ambalika, my co-chair, is the head of sustainability at Snowcap. And together we try to meet up with people, engage with people, and try to work on support them on sustainability related areas. So please join us. We'll put the link up in the chat box, and we'll see you in the different engagements of the India chapter. So corporate sustainability at a broad level has three elements. One is the strategy element. How do you decide what is required at a high level for the organization? And this has to be integrated into the overall objectives of the organization. Sustainability does not have a standalone kind of a model. It has to be integrated into the overall organization blueprint. Then there are disclosures which are coming from the external environment, which could be regulatory in nature, which could be a stakeholder requirement. And then there is a operational angle, which is merging the strategy and the disclosure angle to have the actual implementation of whatever strategy and disclosures are required. The core elements of the business case, why sustainable procurement needs to be actioned immediately. There is a regulatory push in India. BRSR is a very critical component. It is only going to increase. The requirements are already specified. Government is in direct engagement with a lot of companies, particularly the top listed high market cap companies. Similarly, there is a huge amount of customer demand. Most of the RFPs that my company participates in, or in the company that I was working earlier in the telecom sector, do have an ESG component, and we need to submit as a supplier. We need to submit the compliances to the ESG requirements as part of our RFPs. Circular economy can enhance your profitability, so it's a direct linkage to the board mandate in terms of bringing in productivity efficiency. And of course, there is a big the advantage of saving something for the world for the next generation. Now, how do you create a procurement toolbox around this, right? There are elements which are in the nature of digital, there are process-related elements, there are people, there are capabilities which have to be enhanced, and not to miss out the supplier engagement, right? And that is the biggest portion in this entire thing. The procurement is a big influencer on scope 3 and scope 4. We do influence in a big way on the overall emissions and overall ESG compliance of the organization through the engagement with the suppliers. And if we don't start at the right at the pre-screening stage, we would have lost a lot of momentum. There is the due diligence required at the selection stage. How do we embed the ESG principles into your sourcing process, into your vendor selection process is very, very critical. And then there is a continuous engagement, continuous monitoring, review, of the performance of the different vendors. This flows from the policy or the code of conduct of the organization, and then it gets into processes and then practices of the organization. So how do you implement a sustainable platform or a sustainable project? Is through the first thing is to get your suppliers on board. How do you develop a common list of activities which are required for your organization, and then which suppliers are required to participate in those, and how do you create the assessment framework for engaging with those suppliers and getting the right set of information at the right time? How do you manage your contracts to ensure that the sustainability clauses are built into the contracts? I know I was talking to an EPC company recently, and the customers of these kind of EPC companies, including companies like BPCL, have mandated the project companies to ensure how much amount of carbon footprint is being used up in every project, whether it is logistics, whether it is shipments, whether it is project construction sites. All these have to be measured and reported, and vendor selection is based on these principles. We can use a lot of technology digitalization. We don't mandate that technology digitalization is required, but if you have to engage with, let's say, 50 vendors, you have to engage with 200 vendors. How will you do it on an Excel kind of a sheet? And how do you ensure that there is commonality in terms of how the information is flowing back into your organization? How are you going to aggregate that information and report to the organization? Currently, in my organization, it takes us around 2 months to aggregate the complete information of my company and report it to the regulatory bodies. And imagine if you have to do the same thing and the same set of questions for 50 suppliers, it is 50x the effort. If you try to do it manually, God save you. Circular economy has been in practice for many years. It has become more and more prominent. How do you ensure that the product life cycle is created in such a way that it integrates the circular economy into your own products? And how do you ensure that the suppliers are also doing the same as part of your supply chain? Policy and regulatory we already discussed, and I think Ashish has also shared some of the requirements. There are many companies in India who are serving the global market. They are exporters. They integrate their supply chains into multiple companies across the world, and they are not limited to only BRSR. They are also responsible for aligning with the other requirements, which are GRI, CDP, and specific country-based regulations, which are required from their customer perspective. At the bank, we also provide sustainable financing. We know Tata Motors recently got a $500 million book created using sustainable finance at a cost which is lower than the normal book. So there are initiatives which are around in the banking sector for customers and for companies to look at better financing for their sustainability initiatives. Now is the time for procurement folks to tighten their belts, move from awareness to action. There are a lot of buzz around sustainability. There is a lot of excitement around it. There are a lot of people who are working on it. Learn from them, copy them, do something, keep moving the needle forward. Thank you.
Great, thanks so much, Swapnil. That's fantastic. So I've only got one question in the Q&A at the moment, so I'm going to encourage you to drop your questions in, please. Lots and lots to get stuck in. I'm going to start off, if I may, the two of you. So I'm really interested in just initially the legislative environment, and I'm aware of the CSR legislation in India, Section 135, I believe, that requires the private sector to invest into CSR activities. I think it's 1% of your turnover or a
2%.
number. How much is it?
2%.
2%.
2% of your profit, yes.
Okay, 2% of your profit. So I'm really interested.
Last 3 years profit.
Oh, last 3 years profit.
Average.
On the average. Okay, that's good. So I'm interested. Is that driving change? How important is the public sector, policy in driving that change, as opposed to the change and the drivers coming from within a business? Do you understand? I'm just interested in that dynamic between legislation and just the business case. So start off with you, Ashish.
Guy, see, there is a regulation which has been made, but the large companies like us, no, those were already, ensuring that communities are taken care of. So regulation helps, in spending that amount, but we were earlier also doing the similar kind of things. So it is not that we were not aware of that communities are, no, are required to be taken along. I mean, a lot of actions are being taken earlier. No, we were doing the plantation of trees. We were taking care of the local communities. They were also being given the jobs, etc. They are being taken care of their health, meeting the other requirements. But yes, I mean, once regulation comes that minimum that much you need to do, but we always go beyond that. I mean, I would say like this. I mean, and the responsible companies, no, they are not waiting for regulations to come in. They continuously carry out the jobs. No, that will be better for the society. And in our case, our major focus areas on water conservation, education, health, sanitation, etc., etc.
Okay, it's interesting. And by the way, please put your cameras on if you. I don't know if you're allowed to actually, but feel free if you can. And then Swapnil, what's your view on this from a bank perspective? How much has sort of the CSR legislation driven what's happening within the Yes Bank, as opposed to just wanting to be responsible about within the business?
So Yes Bank has gone through major upheaval. We have gone through major financial crisis, so to say. But we never stopped our CSR activities. But yeah, the amount of funds that we were able to allocate to CSR has been changing over a period of time. Given the situation is much better now, the bank is back into green and it is profitable. We continue to spend, more than what is required as per the regulatory requirement.
Okay.
But what I've seen in my previous organization also, there are a whole set of companies who are just trying to comply with the law, and there are a lot of companies who are actually going beyond the law and anyway trying to serve the country.
Okay, good. And can I just keep with you, Swapnil? Are there any other pieces of legislation that, I don't know, set a net zero target or set a target around circular economy? What other pieces of legislation that exists, I don't know, local spend or something like that?
So there is the BRSR regulation which has come in. I think it was 3 or 4 years back, and Ashish can give exact year. But under this, the top 1,000 companies of the country by market cap need to mandatorily report sustainability parameters.
Okay.
And this is a 360-degree report, which includes all elements of sustainability, including E, S, and G. And there are I think around 142 questions which need to be answered, and the majority of them are related to scope 3, which are related to suppliers also.
Okay.
Guy, I'll just add up here what Swapnil has mentioned, regarding regulation. Since see what happened was earlier, it was a voluntary report in our annual report, which is by the name of BRR. But SEBI in 22-21, they made it that 1,000 companies cap, they are supposed to make BRSR report. Now this is more objective in nature. Here you have to talk about, you have to give transparently disclose about your energy, emission, waste and water. I mean, major 4 core parameters, and it is to be assured also. So that is something now which is very great, which has happened, and every company has to find out now what is being done, what are the things, what actions they have taken to cut down their emissions, etc. Like companies like us, we are also disclosing our through our sustainability report also. But now here it has become mandate. There are 2-3 more mandates which have come up. One is that I mentioned to you about PAT targets, perform, act, trade. Perform, act, trade. This is an Indian condition that target has come, where large companies means steel plants, refineries, all those companies, which are there, they have been given target by the government to become more efficient, and those targets have now shifted to emissions, right? Emissions per ton of production. So that is how things are changing in regulations here.
Okay, interesting. Okay, good. So just moving on, I was interested in Ashish, one of your notes and one of your slides spoke around the challenge between price versus value.
Yeah.
And I think this is really cuts to the core of what sustainable procurement is about. I'm interested in the challenge that you've faced within your business. You're fighting for value, I guess, sustainable value, and you might have procurement professionals who are fighting for lowest cost. How have you resolved that conflict? And tell me about that challenge that exists in your career.
Yeah, Guy, if you ask me that, no, today when we are saying that we have to cut down emissions, no, it is like renewable energy, right? That is one way of looking at it. See, we are taking energy from the grid. Okay. At the same time, no, you can generate your own renewable energy or you can no purchase it through open access. It may be costlier to you, but over a longer run, no, if let's say carbon pricing that comes in, then it will be cheaper for you. I think that is where you have to balance out to see that what kind of procurement needs to be done by a company. Today, if I put that, that kind of a system, or even if I purchase from outside, it may be slightly costly. But in the overall run, I have to see, am I doing good for the society or not? I think that is one example I can mention to you. There are maybe many.
Okay, but is there not a conflict there with, the procurement professionals who might have a KPI around reducing cost and you want to save society?
Another example I'll give you. Green hydrogen is another product which is coming up. Yeah. We are making that we are using LNG or fuel in our SMR process in refineries to remove the sulfur. And whole world is talking about green hydrogen. It is costlier, we know. But we are now exploring, R&D is going on. We have to we have to see that how to cut down. Once again, emissions are very important. And also to see, how it is going to do balancing over a longer period. I think that is something again, it is very important. You have to be prepared for the change which is going to come in, because we all have to see that Earth should be there and we should leave something for the future generation.
Okay, good, thanks. Swapnil, I'm really interested in your take on that question. You're in the middle of procurement, and you've driven procurement decision making for 36 years, and I'm kind of interested in the history of your 36 years. And have you seen a change from going from lowest cost to best value, and have you seen a change in the definition of value to include environmental social activities as well as price?
Right. So I have seen small companies, I have seen large companies. The definition of value changes across different companies, different sectors. Many companies in India have already started looking at a value parameter rather than just a cost parameter. Sustainability has come up as a value parameter very recently, and particularly when it is not a customer mandate. When it's a customer mandate, is already built in for the direct purchase and direct procurement areas. But for the indirect side, it is coming into the value component very recently, and regulation is definitely helping it. But one more thing which is helping big time is the investor awareness and the board awareness about this particular topic. So there is a lot of push coming from the management themselves in terms of driving these kind of activities. And if you align your processes and if you align your value systems into the organization objectives, it becomes easier for you to push to such kind of cases even when there is a delta cost. How much amount of delta cost will differ based on the project. For example, if we are building ATMs, we are not able to do solar on the ATMs because it is probably 3x, 4x of the cost. But when we talk about offices, we are able to do it even if it is a marginal 10% increase in cost. We are still able to do it. So it depends on how much amount of deep pockets you have.
Okay, it's interesting. Being a bank, I'm kind of interested in your sustainable finance initiative. I mean, we know that money talks, right? Money talks, and sometimes quite loudly. Do you see how you lend money as a way of influencing businesses that want to borrow money to do good? I mean, is that a product that's taken up and you're seeing businesses embracing the issues around sustainability on the basis they get, 5 basis points reduction off your finance system?
Absolutely, there is a lot of interest around this area. There are a lot of companies who are wanting to use this kind of products. They sometimes fail in some other due diligence rather than failing on this particular aspect. There are companies who are actually taking a lot of initiatives and they get some incentive from an investment perspective or from a financing perspective. Luckily for us, our CFO is also the sustainability team is reporting into the CFO, and CFO is driving that through our products, through our business areas, also to how to pass on some benefits to the customers so that they can enhance their spend on the sustainability side.
Okay. Okay, good. I've got a question here from a few questions, and I'll jump in. First off, from Nathan Good. It would be good to hear more from the speakers about the public sector's attitude to sustainable procurement at state level in India. Does the motivation for sustainable procurement vary regionally in India? So I don't know, it'd be good to hear about the government view on this. Do you want to pick that up, Ashish, first, and then perhaps Swapnil, we might add to that?
Guy, if I tell you, government is giving a lot of support to the companies actually to implement a lot of initiatives which are coming up today. Let's say you would have heard of there is a policy called FAME, right, where government is giving a lot of subsidies, etc., help to set up EV stations across our retail outlets. Where earlier, hardly any EV station was there, but sooner or later, you will find that almost 30% of EV stations we have put across. Right. Then there is another biofuel policy they are talking about. We are now increasing our addition of ethanol into petrol. Right. Earlier it was some 11%. Today it has come to 20%. So that is another method. And the government is giving a lot of support, etc., to set up biofuel kind of projects as well as CBG projects across India, where we would be in a position to either use in refineries and marketing locations, or we can also give it to the customers to use in the passenger vehicles. So I mean the kind of support which you had said, even in green hydrogen also, for setting up projects, government has started a scheme called SIGHT, SIGHT.
Okay, so they're procuring things that are like green hydrogen, etc. But do they embed sustainability into their procurement decision making? Is there a weighting around sustainability, for instance? It doesn't matter what they're buying. So they might be buying, I don't know, health services, or they might be buying waste management services, or for that matter, an IT rollout. Typically, you'd see, I don't know, 40% for price, 40% for quality, and a percentage for sustainability, certainly in this country. And I'm wondering if public procurement has that percentage weighting around sustainability.
It is there. It is there. Let's say, these regulations like EPR you mentioned, that plastic disposal needs to be done. It's a regulation which has come. At the same time, we also have to look into, I mean, the kind of plastic we are using. Can we use biodegradable plastic? No, so it's a decision only that our lubricant department has to take up. I mean, that is a lot of, I mean, in this manner, the procurement is coming up, or the support, or the industry, or even the top management is looking into what are the decision and what are the products or raw material which can be taken, which can cut down overall effect, and which can also look into make in India kind of products.
Okay, great. Moving the conversation on a bit, Swapnil, I noticed in your presentation, a very bold statement. I thought it was very bold, and I'd love to know the origin of it. You said that the circular economy is delivering 5 to 7%. I think it was savings or business benefits. Just talk. I think this is a really important part of the discussion, actually. So I'm really interested in your experience in that and where you see that happening.
So let me give an example. So we buy laptops as a capex item, and we were distributing it to our employees for usage, and then scrapping it at the end of the term. Recently, we changed our entire mechanism, and we did a 360-degree evaluation of how we should be procuring these kind of laptops. We are now taking it on financing. Although we are a bank, we are now financing it through a partner, and there are commitments from the partner in terms of disposal, the reuse of those parts, components, etc. And these are not third-party partners. These are OEMs, big OEMs, and they are committing to reduction in plastic. They are committing to reduction in power usage. They are committing to the recycle value of the products. And how they are going to reuse components from those laptops into the new manufacturing. And these kind of things are actually helping us to, when we look at it from a life cycle costing perspective, it is giving us around 7 to 8% benefit on a single item, right? And there are many more examples like this in the organization.
Quite a lot. Okay, good. Let me just bring in quite a wide question before we sort of do the last question. Elaine Hutchinson has asked, when the largest economy in the world is currently going backwards on sustainability, with statements like drill baby drill, particularly in the US, is that impacting business in India, in the Indian continent, or is it kind of just seen as a noise over there? Let's do you, Swapnil, and then I'm interested to get your view, Ashish, as well.
So there is one part which is the front end and the back end, right? So the front end is what Trump is saying right now. So far, it is not translated into a big time action, except for some companies trying to roll back some DEI initiatives, etc. I am sure companies, if they are let off the hook, they will try to reduce their push on these kind of initiatives. But there is a lot of awareness which has been created over the years, in the community, which is the investor community and the board level communities. And I'm sure the companies will see value from these kind of initiatives rather than just looking at it from a kind of a checklist or a tick in the box kind of activity.
Okay, that's good. So what you're saying then is you believe there's a good business case behind it, regardless of what the noise is over there coming from many miles away. What's your view of this, Ashish? Does it impact you? Of course, you drill, but you're all about oil, so I don't want to put you in an awkward position. So forgive me if I've done that. But I'm interested in your view.
Yeah, I tell you, see, US is impacting globe. That is for sure. No, by all means, you can say that. But today, India has also become the global refinery area, right? Global refinery country. Our refining capacity is increasing. Our growth is also increasing in India. But at the same time, no, I think our country, our government has taken the very same target that we will become net zero by 2070, whereas Europe has set for 2050, because we know our peak is going to come somewhere around 2040, 45. I mean, that is how it is going on. But at the same time, you just see that the kind of effort which government has done today, we are in alignment with our NDC targets, right? We have set 500 gigawatt. We are almost touching 200 to 50 gigawatt today with the renewable energy. And we are sure we are going to touch that. We are now putting plantation. We are also any NDC target, what India has said, no, it is in alignment with that. Any UN SDG targets, what we have committed, we are in alignment with that. So I think India is moving on the right path, balancing both the things. It is not only growth which is required, it is both the things which are required simultaneously, because profit is very important to take care of sustainability along with it.
Okay, that's right. I mean, finding that balance, I think, is important. And I think that the way you spoke about people, planet, and profit was very powerful. Last question, really, of both of you, and I'll start with you, Ashish, and let Swapnil end. I want to hear from you in a very minute each. The single biggest opportunity that you think you have ahead of you, and the biggest challenge that you have to get over. Let's start with you, Ashish.
See, opportunity, I would say, diversification is one thing, which can be looked into as opportunity. Like we are now setting up, we are making our own electrolyzer using indigenous technology. We are setting up, electrolyzers to generate green hydrogen. It may be export also that we are looking for doing it, because that is one diversification, and even petrochemicals also, which will go as a diversification. Right. So there is a possibility that besides oil, we can also look for green kind of fuel energy that we can sell. I mean, that is an opportunity that we have to look into. And the challenge, I would say, is the cost. Once again, cost has to come down. We have to find out what are the new technologies which are coming up, not only in India, across world, globe, and we should be in a position to adopt that. I think that challenge, and the China is a challenge. Whatever we do in India, ultimately you find China is cheap, no, and anybody will try to go.
Okay, yeah, I see. Understood. Great. Okay, Swapnil, what about you? Biggest opportunity and biggest challenge?
I think one big opportunity for us as procurement is that management is looking at us to deliver something and deliver something which is more over and above the cost as the biggest KPI in the procurement KPI metric. And they are looking at it from a long-term perspective. They are asking us to drive initiatives. They are asking us to integrate into the organization and imbibe some of the principles which are important for us. The biggest challenge right now what we face is how to get the supplier community so excited about this because the many of the suppliers are MSME sector, particularly the
Yes.
more and more you try to get local suppliers for certain activities, they are small time suppliers, and for them to know about sustainability first and then implement it and then execute principles around it is not a easy task. And there is no
That's great.
commonality, right? So if Yes Bank is asking for something, Axis Bank might ask in some other different format. The Citibank might ask in some different formats. So there is no common set of information which needs to be provided. How much amount of overhead these small companies will be able to take up, and that is something which will be very important.
Okay, that's good. I'm slightly gratified to hear that your challenges are similar to our challenges. I think the challenge around delivery is like cost, too many different frameworks, SMEs is kind of good. Look, I think we're going to close it up there. It's been a really good discussion. Thank you so much at the top of the call for Katrine to explain. Can I encourage everyone to join SPP, join the Sustainable Procurement Pledge, make your pledge, get involved. It's a fantastic group of procurement professionals. We welcome everyone into it. And then secondly, can I please thank Ashish and also Swapnil for their fantastic presentations and a great discussion. And with that, I'll say good afternoon and enjoy the rest of your day, everybody. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Thank you, Guy. Thank you very much.